Alright, so I'm going to make a lunchbox. I have this here. So this is going to be my reference. So I'm using it on the other screen. If you want to do just like we did with the logos and put a lunchbox on the background, you can refer to those previous videos on how to put an image on a flat plane. As for me, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and jump in here and start modeling. What I want to do first is make a box. And so I'm going to just drag out a box and drag it up. If you want to start in the top view, you can. I prefer to work over in the perspective view. First thing I want to do is center this. As you can tell, this is not centered in space. So what I'm going to do is right click here, and I'm going to center it on the X, and I'll center it on usually the Z, and I'm not going to worry about the Y. Let me see. Yeah, I do want to worry about the Y. I was confused. My Y is up, and so I was confused for a second. I'm going to hit Alt W, and what that's going to do is apparently make my box disappear. I've been having fun with Max all day, so yeah. Okay, there we go. So apparently realistic doesn't work on my machine anymore. So what you want to do is you want to right click and convert this to an editable poly. Make sure you're an editable poly. I'm gonna put a chamfer on these edges. I could select one edge and just say ring, and right click and say chamfer. So I'm going to click the chamfer dialog box, which is to pull this up, and I'll chamfer it out approximately how big I want to make it based on my reference, just glancing over. And I'll put a couple sections in here, something about like that. And so that's going to be as far as I'm going to go with that. Then I'm going to say OK. I'm going to click on both faces on both sides. So if you can hit F2 if they don't show up shaded. Like I said, my Max has been freaking out all day, so I'm not too concerned that it's not showing up correctly, because it's just doing weird things. I'm going to do inset and just pull down an inset like this. I'm looking at that corner, making sure it doesn't get too tight, and then I'm going to do another, something like that. And what I want to do is scale these two together. So if I'm looking at this scale tool, you can see right now it's for each individual piece. I want it to be for the whole selection, so then it's in the middle. And if I use the scale tool, then I can scale these in, and they're going to be about the same on both sides, which is kind of what I want. So then what I want to do is, let's go ahead and get this edge, and I'm going to say ring, right click, and say connect. So I want two connections, and I want to spread them out to about right there. So I'm going to say OK. What I want to do with those is I want to right click and say chamfer, and I want to pull that chamfer way back, and I want to take the inset, the between parts of the chamfer off, and let's just let's pull it back even further, something about like that. So I'm going to say OK and take that selection. So I'm going to grab this edge, I'm going to say ring, I'm going to control click on polygon. And what I want to do is right click, and I'm going to go to extrude, but I'm going to get this little dialog box for extrude. And what I want to do is go by local normal, and I want to go negative. So I want it to go in out like that. So then what I want to do is, I've got my little lids then, the top and the bottom, kind of as you look at this, these areas here. And what I want to do is I want to take Whoops. So let's do it again because I messed up. So when you right click and you say extrude, and you gotta have the right thing, so let's cancel that. Control click on this, so I'm dealing with polygons. You can't tell, but I'm dealing with polygons right now. And click on this extrude button and then go negative. About like that, and then don't forget to accept it, which I forgot last time. So what I want to do now is click on this little edge. If I zoom in, I'm doing polygons, so I want to get an edge. That edge and this edge right there. So those two little edges right there. I'm going to say ring, which is going to give me the ring around there. What I'm attempting to do is make this little round thing that happens, if I can find a better view, this little edge, trying to make that little round edge. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to put a bevel on here. So if I right click and I go to bevel, I want my bevel to be local normal, and I want it to be not very big, and then I want it to be maybe a little bit smaller than skinnier. So I'm just going to give the illusion that it's round. I'm not actually making it round. I'm just giving an illusion. And I think I'm going to be okay with that, so I'm going to say okay. So then the last thing I want to do is just grab this edge here. Let's go back to edge. I want to grab this edge here and grab this edge over here. And I'm going to right click and say chamfer on that. So if I chamfer this, just knocking it back like that is good enough. Just gives it enough of an edge. So now I have my basic lunchbox. So now I need to make the handle. So what we're going to do for a handle is we're going to make a box. So if I go back, let's get out of sub-object mode. Go back here, we'll make a box. Something like this. I'm just going to eyeball in this. So we'll do something about that big and go up. So let's set this to like link segments. Let's give it so I have to go to wireframe so I can see my segments, I think. Okay, so let's do width segments, I guess. There we go. So I'm going to think like about somewhere between 5 or 6, and probably 5 would do it. So let's go back 1 to 5. Alright, so what I want to do is take these side pieces and let's, I gotta convert this. So I'm going to right click, convert to editable poly. And I was working in unshaded mode because it was being strange. So once I have this, I'm going to go ahead and select this side, and then I'm going to get the other side. So I'm going to right click and say inset. I'll just get the dialog box. That looks about good. I'm going to say OK. Actually, that doesn't look good. Let's right click and do that again. So if I go to inset, let's make it a little bit less than that. Something about like that. Alright, so I'll end up being 0.064. I want to do an extrude, so I'm going to right click. These are still polygons, even though they look like edges. I'm going to say extrude, and I want a negative extrude, so I want it to go into the model a little bit, like that, and say OK. What I want to do now is get the ones on both ends. I'm not sure I can do both at the same time, but we'll try it. I'm just going to say bridge, and look at that, I got both, so that's good. So then what I want to do is grab these edges, this one, and this one, and this one, and that one, and I'm going to right click and say chamfer, So let's chamfer this. And you don't want to chamfer it too much. I just want it to be a little bit round and look a little bit softer. And that's good enough. And I'm just going to go ahead and accept that. So we have the basic handle now that we're going to use. So what I want to do is put a bend on it. So I want to center it. So let's right click. Now let's make sure it's centered in this direction. And I'm just going to say bend, go up here, and click and put a bend modifier on it. So let's do bend. And we'll give it an angle, and we'll check the different axes until we get one we like, which is this one. If you don't get one you like, you might have to rotate the gizmo. I'll show you that in a second. But this works out just about pretty well, so we'll do something about like that. If I was going to have to rotate the gizmo, what I would do is click on bend, click on gizmo, click on angle snap, and get my rotation, and actually rotate this 90 degrees or whatever I need it to rotate to get it to bend in the right direction. Alright, so I don't need a bend though, because mine happen to be bending in the right direction already. Whoops, I don't need to move the gizmo, I do need the bend. So what I want to do is right click here and right click here. So I got the move transform type in box. You get that by right clicking on either move scale or rotate. You'll get this box to tell you where something, how it's turned, where it is, or how big it is. I'm just going to drag this straight up so it's sitting on top. So I've got my handle. Now I just need to make a few little pieces, the little handle piece and this little locking piece, and we'll do that in the next video.